Hello, everyone. We have a senior German language teacher with us today who has studied psycholinguistics in Germany and is the director of a leading institute in Mumbai called Sprachenatelier Language Studio. She provides world-class educational services to those pursuing higher education in Germany. Her professional approach and excellent mentoring is well known. Let us know more about her and her work through this interview. Hello, Ujwal.
Hi, Prasaran and you all. Hi, Lalita.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to a wonderful conversation with you.
Yeah, same here. It's a long time we haven't met, so it's really wonderful opportunity for me to catch up with you.
To that.
You as well.
Yeah. Yes. So I would like to start by asking you about the name of your, language institute. It is Sprachenatelier Language Studio. So can you explain it to us?
Yes. When I was pursuing my studies in psycholinguistics, I happened to develop good friends because, after marriage, it occurred in my life to go to Germany with my husband for a longer duration. And in NRW as well as in south of Germany region, Regensburg as well. Then I happened to go to Aachen and we met with a couple, the principal of a very well-known school, Ursula Ruber, and her husband, who's a very well-known artist of Europe, Ulrich Ruber. And I got an opportunity to visit Ulrich Atelier, which is a studio for an artist. So the word atelier was constantly made in my mind. After completion of my research studies, I realized that psycholinguistics in India, only a medico is allowed to work as a psycholinguist, and non-medicos do not get a chance by Indian Medical Council as well as Maharashtra Medical Council. Karnataka has opened up the seats now. I can work in Karnataka, and we also have an office of Sprachenatelier Language Studio in Bangalore. However, when one door closes, the other door opens up. And over here, Frau Bagban has played a very constructive role, a very motivating role in me that she put in thought in my mind to start with TestDaf training. Of course, my inspiration was also my son, who happened to appear for TestDaf in 2009, and he was the first candidate who got the highest score of, flawless performance, and he got into RWTH Aachen University. Wow. So it was another kind of a milestone in my life to look into the direction of doing something different. So back to India, 2013 November, I decided to start my consultancy called Sprachenatelier Language Studio, where you get trained particularly for TestDaf training. This consultancy is under the umbrella of GST, and we are a registered organization as well as authorized by Indian government to certify our students. And we train particularly from A1 to C2 level language, but our niche is in TestDaf and TEL training. Until now, 172 students have studied in the last 9 years, and they are either studying in Germany, some of them are done with their education and working in the German industry, and some of them already got the Einbürgerung from German government, so they are very well settled over there. So this is the kind of a background of Sprachenatelier Language Studio.
Before we move on to talk about your institute or studio, I would say, I would like to know more about psycholinguistics from you.
Yeah. Psycholinguistics studies, I happened to get started when I was with my husband in Germany. And this course was available at Heinrich Heine University as well as, in LMU University. That's where the days in 90s, just married and happened to get into higher education, because my background was of history and psychology, honors with psychology and masters with history. So with Einstufungstest or Aufnahmeprüfung, it was very much possible to get into higher studies for psycholinguistics. The another reason to get into psycholinguistics was my father-in-law, who was into judiciary. He happened to suffer from Alzheimer's. And I happened to get a chance along with the then famous psychiatrist Dr. Barve to start a group for the families of Alzheimer's sufferers, how to deal with, because in 90s or mid 90s we were not aware of Alzheimer's. So we formed a group to support the families, how to deal with the Alzheimer patient and how to help them to make their life easier. So I decided that in psycholinguistics, I would be working in the area where I will be working for the coma patients, patients with dementia or amnesia. So after coming out of these phases, they need a revival. It's a rehabilitation program for these people, which could prolong up to 1 year. So this was a reason to get into psycholinguistics. And Germany, maybe because psychology, the base is in Germany, Austria and Germany, it has started. And you are aware, the German education is very deep. It's a 100% application-oriented program. And if you are giving correct, constructive, logical solutions, it is being accepted without any bias approach. So that education concept of German university appealed to me and I decided to go ahead with that. Then we were back to India. The second child was born. And then the first one happened to give TestDaf. He went to RWTH Aachen. So again, the stimulation came into me to do TestDaf because I wanted to, when I realized that being a psycholinguist, it would be difficult in 2002-03 to get started with my profession because it is not allowed by Maharashtra Medical Council. I decided to get into something different to start with the language. And over here, I would like to tell you, right from my referral college teacher, Mrs. Bide, who happened to inculcate that interest in me in 11th of 12th, and that Vijigishu Grutti, if you have to work on everything with the complete dedication, She helped me to get into boards. My father-in-law happened to play a role. Husband was being very supportive. So we decided to put all that into, and I wanted to start something which everybody is not doing, I didn't want to start every day for a couple of hours doing Ish Haisa Ujwal Anil, working on the same A1, A2 program. So TestDaf happened to put it into my mind, that seed that I should work out on something with this. So I went to Germany. Fortunately, those were the years TestDaf Institute used to train the people to become a trainer. And Ludwig Maximilian Universität, along with Union with Goethe Institute, had a program of Lehrerausbildung, which was a very constructive program. We had few hundreds of hours of hospitation, and we got an exposure to, go to the schools as well as to the institutes. For example, Sprachenatelier and Sprachzentrums over there played a big role. Even Sprachzentrum of Aachen, from where Dr. Helmut happened to guide me a lot. Dr. Martin was a very supportive person. So I happened to complete that. Meanwhile, I got introduced to Dr. Sebastian Grieser. Actually, it's very interesting. I always had a feeling that, when you're working in the field of language, particularly in German, we will take into consideration, I wanted to do something in union with the Germans in India. And Dr. Sebastian Grieser was here. And he suggested me, we will do a tandem program of creative German writing and you teach me Marathi and Hindi. Now, the surprising part is I haven't learned Hindi neither in my schooling or later stage. It was a Sanskrit base, but I strongly believe in that Sanskrit. And if you have a very good hold on your mother tongue, you can really explore in the world of foreign languages. So, he motivated me to get into this tandem program, and then he started GEDES. That was the GEDES started much later. In between many years, GEDES was not done after Frau Bharucha and Frau Bhagwan had stopped, So I didn't want to lose the opportunity. It was a golden opportunity. However, I gave the exam of GEDES in Germany, and for that to strengthen my knowledge further, I happened to do at Sprachenatelier and again certain courses in the year 2012. They were Oberkurs, which is a very, very, extensive program with the language, which takes you into to understand the wissenschaftliche Sprache. And I realized that this is a thread for me to get started with TestDaf. Because TestDaf is something has to do with nicht mit der Alltagssprache, aber it has to do with wissenschaftliche Sprache. So
sorry to interrupt you, but for those who don't know German, can you explain what is wissenschaftlich and some other words in like also Lehrerausbildung?
I will give you a simple example. Wissenschaftliche Sprache in the sense not just this word-to-word translation in English called scientific language. I'll give you an example. See, we all know English. However, when it comes to dealing with medical terminology or judiciary language, we need somebody, an expertise from the field to guide us to understand the terminology. On the contrary, when you do TestDaf training, you not only comprehend the text of any sphere of education, but you are also in a position to interpret your thoughts, ideas and answers at that high-end level of language. That's the difference between wissenschaftliche Sprache, Alltagssprache or Amtssprache. It could be closer to the Amtssprache because a lot of terminology is being used. For example, in your translation field, the terminology you use which will not be used in a Besprechung or when you are presenting a Vortrag. So that's the difference with, and to have this remarkable difference to understand the foreigners the German university undergrad and postgrad program. European Union's Parliament has designed a program for all the countries who are under the umbrella of European Union. So suppose you go to France, you will be doing test of Französisch as a foreign language. Since you are going to go to Germany, you will be doing TestDaf, test als Entschuldigung, a test of Deutsch als Fremdsprache. So these languages, the TestDaf is applicable for 5 German-speaking countries. They are Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein. So any of these 5 countries, if you're going to study at the university level, you want to pursue your doctorate. As far as doctorate is concerned, there is one possibility always that you don't have to do the doctorate in instruction of German. You can do the doctorate in the instruction of English. However, when you do doctorate, if it is in the field of chemistry or if it is in the field of paramedical branches, for example, if it is in the field of psychology and you want to work as a counselor later in Germany or any other German-speaking country, then we always advise our clients to do TestDaf so that they can interact very well with their patients, their clients, and they also have to make the case history of the paper, which they have to submit it to the authorities. And for that case history, the particular scientific language terminology has been used. That is possible to comprehend and crack and interpret when you do TestDaf. So that's the big difference between the Alltagssprache, Amtssprache, which is being used in the offices, and TestDaf related wissenschaftliche Sprache, which opens the doors to all the spheres of education.
Okay. Wow, that was a great explanation.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about this difference. You know, there are many other exams people take to go to Germany to clear their international certifications. That is Goethe exams, TELC, and TestDaf is there. Then Bulat is there. So can you explain the difference to us, how TestDaf is different from all this?
See, lately, last few years, the Goethe certification, other than the GEDE certification, the rest of the other certificates are given to you from the regional branch of any city from where you are studying. And this certification is valid only for a few months. TELC is a certification which is valid for first 5 years. On the contrary, TestDaf is the only certification which is valid for your lifetime. So it's not only a gateway for you to go for education or for the job, but it also helps you to rise the ladder in your profession or to get into German MNCs anywhere in the world, or you can also start along with, you have created a niche in particular subject and your certification of TestDaf, you can start something on your own and you could be a professional in the field of languages. That's a big difference with TestDaf and the other language certificates. However, TELC is concerned, we also train for TELC. We recently got the authority to train for TELC. TELC is an examination we recommend to for the medical students, not the paramedicals, only for the medical students. Those who are willing to, the students who have done MBBS in India, they are supposed to do TELC program. The reason is for the master's program, the starts examen of medicine, pure medicine or veterinary medicine, the Fachspracheprüfung is being conducted by TELC in Germany. So the format of the examination is similar. So what we do, we train them up to C1 level of TELC. However, TELC exam cannot be appeared. You cannot give the TELC examination in India or even in Indian subcontinent. You have to go to Germany or Austria to appear for TELC examination. So we prepare you for the TELC exam. You give the TELC examination in Germany and you immediately put your application for Fachspracheprüfung course. We have also got the value-added programs with our TestDaf. For example, the students who are medical students as well as students who are going to go for paramed programs. Although I'm not in the field of medicine, along with the alumni of Sprachenatelier language studio, we give them the value-added workshops to get the gist of Fachspracheprüfung. What are the contents for the laser texter, for your texter, for mündliche Prüfung, how one should prepare for. So what happens, you're having a mindset. With TestDaf, you're already knowing language like a local German, like a native German, you're very eloquent. So going to Germany becomes just a formality for you to get into Fachspracheprüfung and, start with your Approbation. Because, for example, those who are willing to study masters in Germany, Indian doctors, they have to do Approbation phase of 3 to 6 months duration. And if they complete the Fachsprache program of 9 weeks and give the examination, the TestDaf helps them to get the highest score in Fachsprache also, because you're done with language. You just have to focus on the medical terminology. That helps them to score excellent. And when you have scored very good in Fachspracheprüfung, for the paramedicals, Gesundheitsamt opens the door to get started with, for dentist, for physiotherapist. And for medical students, you immediately get into assistance arts position. So you are in the clinicum, which is connected to the university. So we guide you right up to the step of clinicum, entering into a uniclinicum. Once you are into uniclinicum, you are an arts, a medical officer. Now it is up to you to update your level so that you become the Berufsarzt and then Oberarzt. So to become a Berufsarzt, you have to do starts examen. The duration could be from 4 years to max 6 years. You do your master's in starts examen, either medicine or surgical part. But all these years you are working as an assistant arts. You are getting paid fabulously for that, approximately 3,835 euros per month. And you are pursuing your career. That's the beauty of Germany. And let me tell you, Lalita, Germany is really having a dire need of intellectuals until the 2035. Now, again, currently last week, the finance minister of Germany was in New Delhi, and she had signed some of the, MOUs with Mr. Jaishankar. So, a lot of things are happening. Germany has opened up the doors in 2009-10 itself. And it will be very sad to know, Lalita, that the TestDaf examination in India, we are having only 2 constructive centers, Bangalore as well as Delhi. These 2 centers are conducting exam in a very amicable manner, in a very efficient manner. Pune sometimes have exam, and Pune is also doing a good job. But unfortunately, seats are not more than 10. Currently, seats have been raised to 15. On the contrary, Dhaka branch of TestDaf exam center, at a time, minimum 300 to 400 students are appearing. So Indians really should understand this model and encourage their kids to, go for. Because education at the German universities, the quality is at the best. The entire world is aware of that.
Yes.
I would also like to tell you, when I was studying in Germany, if you're taking a morning flight, and you travel by the cab to the airport, all the bus stops used to be full by the Chinese students, and you would be surprised whether you are in China or you are in Germany. That has been replaced in the year 2015, 16 or 18 when I happened to go for felicitation of my son. Now it is being replaced by American students. And the statistical data says that 2019 to 2022, 49.6% American students have come to Germany to pursue their education. And they have to study in the instruction of German, and from them, 38.2% are willing to stay back in Germany to pursue their career. So we are not going to compete with Germans, or we are not going to compete with Europeans. We are going to compete with Kiwis, Australians, and Americans as well. And they are realizing the importance of education. And the third last aspect of why Germany should be taken into consideration, because education is completely free.
Okay.
But one thing one should understand, because the notion of Indians, 172 students of Sprachenatelier language studio did go to Germany. However, initial stage, the students who have done their undergrad in India, they used to go for the program in the instruction of English. Some of them, although they have done TestDaf and got the excellent performance, still they did not do the program in German, but they did it in English. However, the change notion of German industry in the year 2019, now if you do your program in the instruction of English, when you enter the industry, you are being absorbed as a trainee for 3 years. So you not only earn only 15 to 1800 euros per month, but important thing is you don't grow in the industry. On the contrary, when you are at par with native German, working shoulder to shoulder with him, like a German, you rise the ladder very fast in first 5 years. So this is very important for Indians to understand now, and they should be more revolutionary. They should be more, what you could say, forthcoming to understand this model and make their profile very profound.
Wow. Yes, that is really important.
Yeah.
So when you are imparting this TestDaf knowledge to your students, are you also culturally sensitizing them?
Yes, yes. See, language is a door to the civilizations. You do not understand people or the country and the rituals and traditions. We call him Sitten and Bräuche und Ritualen. You will not be in a position to understand them, and you will not be in a position to get integrated in that society if you do not get sensitized in a cultural manner. So cultural sensitization is the most integrated part of training at Sprachenatelier Language Studio, and it doesn't start somewhere at the later stage, rather it starts from the day first. So first important thing is you have to learn the German in the instruction of German. For example, the very famous intercultural communicator, facilitator, and a linguist, Dr. Cummins, he had stated in his synopsis that if you're learning a foreign language, you should never take support of any other foreign language. And English is not our mother tongue. English is a foreign language to us. Because when we were born, we did not listen English one first word. We happened to listen our mother tongue or a regional language. So I allow them to correlate with their mother tongue, but do not translate. And with gestics, mimics, pictures, placards, drawings, short films, video films, we encourage them to learn German in the instruction of German. Our program is very interactive. It's not a frontal teaching program. The student has to take initiative to keep talking, because I'm not supposed to compete with them, but they have to compete with each other. That's why we have a studio arrangement where we do not have in one batch more than 10 students. The reason is I'm not into tutoring, I'm into mentoring. So I believe in that I should give equal amount of time to each student. And as you grow to the later stage of your Unterricht, your energy levels are going to get drained. So one shouldn't be deprived of your attention and your capacity to impart knowledge to him or her. That's the reason we keep small groups. We do the screening in the sense after the B1 examination, we understand what an aptitude to go for. So far, nobody happened to opt out or have withdrawn from the program because they first understand the model thoroughly. And those who are really sure about going to Germany for education or job, they are only enrolling for the program. Now we are having SAP consultants from Dubai, Singapore, as well as from South Africa. Plus we are having researchers from Max Planck Institute, as well as researchers of TIFR who are going to go to Germany through on Humboldt scholarship. So, these people are already aware. They have already visited Germany or they are going to go to Germany. And my SAP consultants, some of them are already being selected by the HR. The only formality for them left is they have to produce the TestDaf certificate. So, so this is the dire need of TestDaf. I mean, there are people who often say that with the knowledge of English you can, but practically you cannot survive and you cannot rise in your profession if you do not have very good knowledge of German language. And it's applicable for all 5 German-speaking countries. So it really becomes very mandatory.
Yes.
Very interactive methods, and it's a lot of activities, plays, and all we do. So that, of course, scientific language. So we do not touch the literature part. Child literature or later literature is not being discussed in TestDaf training program. However, we have developed a mapper which educates them at the later stage in core TestDaf training to understand about the terminology of mathematics, physics, computer science, and medicine, which helps them to understand. Plus our alumni, whenever they come here, they also help our students by conducting workshops about life in Germany at the German university, how to get integrated, the terminology, what are the, German education has a very constructive part of internship. Practicum is very important. Without practicum, you cannot complete your education. So our students prepare them how to prepare the practicum thesis, how to get a practicum, how practicum is very important. What is the difference of practicum and master thesis at the FH or at the TU? All that is being guided to them before they fly to Germany as a student. So cultural sensitization is the most integrated part of German training at Sprachenatelier Language Studio. We create an environment, as I have said, ours is a studio arrangement to understand how Europe functions with language training. The books are available, all the material is available over here for them to go through. And we also conduct a lot of activities, right? From that, like, for example, the Weihnachtsbaum is a must for us to, decorate, because they have to understand what is Advent, what is Weihnachtsbaum, what is the story of Saint Nicolaus. So all that I have to create over here. If they don't experience this, they will not understand, and then they will not enjoy it when they are in Germany. So, meine ist nicht nur die beste Kultur. All the cultures are beautiful. I have to make them understand, and cultures are based on geographical conditions of the country. For example, I'll give you a simple example, in Konkan region, the people who come from Konkan, आपल्याकडे पूर्वीच्या काळी आपल्या पिढीमध्ये नॉर्मली असं असायचं की आई संध्याकाळी विचारायची की तुला किती भूक आहे ग, मला भात टाकायचंय. माझ्या शाळेतल्या काही मैत्रिणी हसायच्या की काय तुमच्याकडे असं बोलतात. मी तिला म्हटलं, हे बघ, कोकणामध्ये मार्च नंतर सगळ्याचं दुर्भिक्ष असतं. When there is a scarcity, you save and you use, because for the entire year you have to use that. That's the reason this concept has come out. And genetically it happened to sip in us, so we continue doing that. The same way, Germany doesn't have an agricultural land, very limited agricultural land. So for Germans, getting the bread and butter was always a difficult task. That's why in German culture, for example, if you are staying in a Wege and your German colleague will ask you if he's hungry, that hast du eine Scheibe von Brötchen? And as an Indian, you will say, being very generous, ki kashala ekhadas tukda, akkha bread ghe na माझ्याकडला. And she will be flabbergasted, saying, what's wrong with this lady? She's giving me the complete bread loaf. For her culture, she has been trained to be satisfied with one or two, the bread token. On the contrary, you are like, अतिथी देवो भव, त्याला अगदी पोटभरच खायला घालून पाठवायचं ही कन्सेप्ट असल्यामुळे आपण त्यांना ब्रेड देतो. ही जेव्हा डिफरन्सेस आपल्याला कळतात, की मग आयुष्य अगदी सोपं होतं. And I insist that my students should always stay in waking Wohngemeinschaft. The reason is that in Wohngemeinschaft, you stay with Germans and other Germans. So practically every day you bump into them to speak with them in German. You understand the cultural aspects, the rituals, what is Advent calendar, what is what, because these German kids also, how we make Diwali, delicacies, the same way they also make it. These girls gather together and they make those cookies and all, they wrap them beautifully, and it is being given to aunts and uncles and granny, and beautiful arrangements are being done by these kids who are educating at the university. So all this takes you back. For example, another thing is, if you are staying with a German family, the best part is, in the evenings, the kitchen, the mama roofs auf. Hände waschen, wir essen zusammen. आणि इतकं मस्त वाटतं सांगू तुला, की आपण कशा सगळे आया इकडल्या घरात हातपाय धुवा बघू, कपडे बदलून जेवायला चला. ते ती जर्मन आई म्हणते ना, आणि असं मस्त वाटतं की चला, हिची आणि माझी नाळ जुळली आहे. And this is very close to, because when you explore German language, you find a lot of similarities with your mother tongue, Marathi, particularly Marathi. Grammatically, it may be similar to Sanskrit. However, I would insist that the linguistic beauty, language beauty lies more Marathi and German together. And in Germany, I met an Egyptian linguist who happened to say that linguists are coming to a conclusion that Marathi and German were the siblings existed on the planet before Sanskrit, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
But then there are so many similarities. Adana सांगत होते, नाच laufen nicht gehen. मराठीमध्ये आपण असंच म्हणतो, नाक वाहतय तिचं. अर्थात त्याला रेडबेंडून नसते, त्यामुळे त्याचा अर्थही फार वेगळा आहे, अगदी शब्द नाहीये. पण कितीतरी गोष्टींचं साम्य सांगता तुला, की एका बहिणीला काढावं आणि दुसरीला झाकावं असं होतं. And when that happens, when there is a crowd of Maharashtrian students, I always see to it that I show them this kind of beauties of language. When there are non-Maharashtrians, but I never allow them to translate, neither in Marathi or in English. When, for example, while working in Germany, I realized that, there are students, they are from Syria, Arabian countries. And these people, let me tell you, they really have that strong dedication to pick up. They are asylum seekers. They are not the migrants. They are asylum seekers. So, they have to prove themselves in the society, because their country they have left, which they may not go back again. These people are really taking all the benefits to learn the language. And I happened to get an interaction with a gentleman, Arabian doctor, who has written the textbook for medizinische Fachsprache. He's a neurosurgeon based in Germany. In union with another German neurosurgeon, he has written the textbook for Fachspracheprüfung. I got in touch with him, and a couple of my students happen to study in Institute for the Fachsprache program. So if Arabs can do it, why shouldn't we do that? Yeah. We also should make efforts to do it. So that's what I want to put it into Indian parents, that please, learning language opens the doors to the civilizations. Please inculcate this thought in your child's mind, that learn this foreign language fully. It will help you for your lifetime. It really helps for the lifetime. So, really one should consider, unfortunately, Indians are still in lesser numbers to go to Germany for higher education in the instruction of German. And Lalita, affluent class is highly aware of, because affluent class knows where to save money and where to get the best of the benefits of money. And trust me, from the beginning, my clientele is belonging to this class. But unfortunately, our highly educated middle class parents are still not aware of that. So I'm trying to bring in a lot of awareness among parents as well. So a lot of schools, but international schools are reciprocating in a better way. Other schools are still not very reciprocative, but we are working very hard to do that. And I'm sure it will happen. One day it will definitely happen.
Yes, certainly. That's great.
Thank you.
So, Ujwal, I can see at your studio, you are handling a lot of wissenschaftliche Sprachen, or say verticals.
Yeah.
So, scientific languages. So, do you do all this alone, or do you have a team to help you out with all this?
Yeah, I have a team in Bangalore. I have and as well as in Mumbai after COVID, there are only 4 teachers who are working for. However, they are not trained by TestDaf Institute and they have not appeared for TestDaf examination. They have shown the reluctance to go for TestDaf. Hence, TestDaf model is completely in my hands. TELC and TestDaf models are in my hands. And they happen to teach in the engineering colleges or the other commerce colleges, or there are some of the technical institutes where it is mandatory to learn a foreign language. They teach A1, A2, or sometimes even B1 program. Or some of the, we take the assignments on a private basis, like people from banking sector, they want to learn the Sprache. Those who have done PVD programs, they happen to teach for these, clients. However, TestDaf and TELC is completely under my control.
Okay. So I know that TELC has certain books, prescribed books, but does TestDaf also have these books, or you have to prepare them?
To begin with, TestDaf, even our A1, A2, B1 book is different than the regular programs of Kyothe or TEL. See, basically, let me tell you, the other institutes, they do not have a moral responsibility to prepare you to go to Germany or German-speaking countries for higher education.
Yes.
Their job is to teach German as a foreign language.
Correct.
And that they are doing in their best way. TestDaf is the only model which prepares you. It's a pathway for you to go to Germany for education or for the job purpose. So the way the German universities conduct exams or the methodology being used at the German universities to impart knowledge of the subjects, identical methodology has been used with TestDaf training. That is why after completion of all the 10 levels of language, we train them for core TestDaf training. The reason is being trained in by TestDaf Institute and also getting a chance to understand the China model, because earlier, the business was massive with China and they were always on their radar. So TestDaf has a separate model for China. The entire world writes different exams and China people write different exams. So, observing that since the TestDaf Institute exams have started, not a single model or not a single question is being repeated. So they have a very advanced mechanism to come out with new ideas. That's the reason I've designed core TestDaf training of minimum 2.5 to 3 months, in which you write in number of exams. And I also developed different methodology of reflecting my knowledge of psycholinguistics into my work. So that I can work on their psychology and I can help them think in a better way. So I've evolved certain methodologies with correction of the essays or correction of their, the mündliche Prüfung, as well as I give a lot of voicemail related model answers, and we constantly do a lot of visuals. I believe in doing a lot of visuals as a psycholinguist. The reason is that when you're doing visuals, you are in a process to think what's happening in the visuals in your mind. So you actually play a role of a protagonist. And that helps you a lot to remember the vocabulary faster. And language is something like mathematical rules or logic, which remains in your long memory. Nobody could ever say that I have learned a language 15 years back, now I have forgotten. You never forget the language. The moment you get a boost, you remember everything. That's the reason these kind of boosts are very important. Plus, the visuals are given in the form of charts, but the charts are not done in a very proportionate or structured manner. Rather, the structures are combined in a very, what you could say, in a puzzle manner. That they have to work on it and they have to make a constructively good chart. Or in the vocabulary also, Synonyms, Antonyms, Redewendungen, Präpositionale Objekte, all that has to be done with, either in an interactive manner by enacting or reading or presenting a Vortrag. So what happens? They live all that as a protagonist. So presenting it becomes very easy for them. And my answers are usually given in voicemail form. The reason is that when they listen to my answer, they understand the mindset of an examiner, what an examiner expects. Because Lalita, this exam today, more than lakh of people are appearing every year, but the result is not beyond 3%.
Oh, is it?
It is very competitive exam. It's a highly competitive exam. I mean, when parents ask me, especially engineering parents, students' parents ask me, I simply tell them that this is IIT Advanced Offer Language. So how you do for IIT Advanced, you have to put in efforts in a similar way.
Yes.
You know, so that's why the voicemail related answers are given. So they listen to that. They're supposed to write it down. While writing, they understand what mistakes they were doing. So this is the way, in a very interactive manner we do it. So it is a very elaborate program done by me. There are no shortcuts, but then again in life there are no shortcuts. You have to go a straight long line, otherwise there is no success. So I put in that in their head, and I actually make them live Germany over here. You know, by giving Landeskunde Information or Kulturelle Sensibilisierung, I see to it that they live Germany over here. So when they go there, for example, we just had a felicitation recently on 31st of July. Kaushal Inamdar had come to felicitate my students, and Kaushal also on the same wavelength. You know, what a transparent, wonderful personality. So he also happened to tell my students that language is so important. Be persistent to learn more and more from her. And that time, you know, Mithil, one of my students, he happened to say that I was worried that what professors are going to say, will I understand? And I was so surprised that the way she talks, the professors also talk in a similar way at the university. The entire journey was so easy. And his body language was with that easiness expressed in such a beautiful way. You know, or another student, she is doing her master's in cognitive psychology, and she will be pursuing her doctorate in the same field at Bochum University. She was selected by German government to represent Germany in Finland just after the COVID period. The topic was the transition of tourists and migrants during the psychology of tourist and the migrants transition during the COVID period. She presented her paper over there, Aishwarya Deshpande. So we have said, James, you know, then, you know, sometimes the parent calls you of saying that I was traveling with my child. I happened to go to drop him for the undergrad program. And in the train, I met a lady who is an advocate, and she was talking to my son, Ishan. And later on, she gave me a compliment in English saying, your son speaks aristocratic, beautiful German. That is something, trust me, Nalita, it's nothing I could compare in my life, what it's called, you know, happiness. And these students have been consistently and constantly giving me this feeling of pride and being proud about them. So journey is really beautiful. Yeah.
What more a teacher wants. This is the best compliment.
What a teacher wants, trust me. We never look forward for the diamonds, but when our teachers go, students go ahead with this, it's an amazing feeling, trust me. Very true. You must have experience. Our boys normally complain, you know. Anurag especially used to say, you love your students more than me. That complaint was until now. Now he's left for Germany to pursue studies in music. Now he has stopped saying that. He said, Mama, all these years you were loving me. I realize it now.
Finally.
Finally, yes.
Great. We talk about teaching German as a second language or foreign language all the time. So can you explain to us the difference between teaching German as a first language and teaching German as a foreign language?
Okay. I had an opportunity to work for Uttar International School to prepare for ambitious students where they do not call German or French as a second language, but international program schooling puts both the languages as first language. When you take another language, it becomes a second language. So that time teaching German as almost like a first language for ab initio program or for the HL program, I realized that it's a very, very different ball game. Because when you're learning German as a first language, you cannot have a demarcation of I'm doing this model only for this particular requirement. You have to be having a versatility to touch in all the aspects of language. You have to introduce them the literature of language. You have to introduce them with the child literature of language. You have to train them in grammar. However, grammar cannot be taught in a mannerism where for scientific language program, the grammar is so important that we train grammar for TestDaf, which is being used for the graduation level of BA program in Germany, or the foreign students who pursue their DAF program for masters in Germany. So this is a big difference, that you have to introduce them first language when it comes to you. You have to introduce them all the aspects of language. And unfortunately, the books which are being designed for these international school exams where German is a first language, the books are being translated in English as well. So you get the exposure of a textbook, the half of the textbook on the same page, it's in German and it's being translated in English. What happens? Let me tell you, my observation was my colleagues or the seminars I have attended. I was also given the training program for Geneva for the ab initio program. And in that I observed, for example, when we are teaching prepositions, okay, Wechselungsprepositionen, when you are teaching, you are supposed to start first with the action. Wohin lege in this book? I cannot tell you the position of the book. Does this book lit here?
Undecided.
That's the position of the book. But these people used to start with wo liegt das book, and then used to put the, the fishes and the birds on the ceiling and the walls. And I was completely confused that how can it be possible? Because my TestDaf module has made me to go the straight long ways, where it has to be done in a very systematic way. That doesn't happen when you are teaching German as a first language. So to be very honest, although my students were the global toppers in ab initio, I personally did not enjoy that program a lot because it was constantly being asked to translate. And being a psycholinguist, I believe in that translation should not happen. You have to think in German. You have to learn by thinking in German. As we say that when you dream in German, then that, that eureka feeling comes in you. And then trust me, you really express so beautifully in that foreign language. And it should be applicable for all the languages, not just for German, So the difference is big. As far as if I compare TestDaf and German as a first language, the challenges are different. Yes, over there also challenges are different. The reason is that over there they also have to present a Vortrag, but those Vortrags are normally based on the cultural aspects of the German-speaking countries. So what I used to do, I introduced them, for example, in Switzerland, there is a concept of, the cows and the bulls are being decorated and they are being kind of worshipped, okay? And this particular Frühling fest happens, same way Maharashtra mein Bail Poda hoto. So, see, international school, the crowd is very different, cosmopolitan crowd. Even a Maharashtrian family child may not be knowing what is called Bail Poda. So I just want to show them the clips, video clips, and lot of things of Bail Poda. And then I happen to take them into the world of the Swiss celebration. They immediately got connected. The only connection they found, because one was visual happening in India, that's their homeland. Another one was happening in Germany, that is their Gasland. So, this way you have to find the methods. Today, technology is playing a massive role in all this. But Lalita, as a hardcore teacher, let me tell you, technology is just to empower you. It cannot take over you to impart your knowledge, because you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't teach with showing a PPT. You should pitch in on the chair. You should be very active, machen viel, Bewegung, alles. Das ist sehr wichtig. If you don't do that, then your student is not going to absorb the language. You really have, and every day should be a different day.
Yes, there cannot be a dull moment.
And every day it really happens. The way you have taught particular grammar case yesterday, it will not be coming in a similar way today. You have to do value addition into that. And it also depends upon how the crowd is, When students are very reciprocative, you also get, really that you forget all your pens and eggs and your migraines and you are really into it. So that is also very important, that as a first language, teaching German is a very different, what you could say, challenge in comparison to teaching German as a foreign language. It's as simple as that. We speak Marathi. Of course, त्या बाबतीत पण मी स्पष्ट म्हणेन की तुम्ही पुणेकर फार शुद्ध सुंदर मराठी बोलता. मुंबईमध्ये पुष्कळ वेळा मी आलेली गेलेली ऐकलं की कानाला भयंकर त्रास होतो. म्हणजे तसं बोलणारी मराठी व्यक्ती जेव्हा म्हणते की माझं मराठीवर प्रभुत्व आहे, तेव्हा मला खरंच जरा शंका येते. किंवा मी तुला निश्चित सांगते की माझं मराठी खूप चांगलं आहे, तेव्हा पहिला तो निश्चित शब्द चांगला उच्चार असं सांगायची वेळ येते. पण सेम वे, that person, if we have to teach Marathi as a foreign language, it becomes a difficult thing. When I was teaching Sebastian Grills, I realized it's not that easy. And then I worked, honestly, I'm telling you, I happened to refer to my German books from Ein to design a program in Marathi or in Hindi for Sebastian. So it's a very different challenge, आणि तसं तर आपण आपल्या मुलांना मराठी शिकवताना आपण पुस्तक घेऊन शिकवायला लागलो की कठीण होतं. कारण बोली भाषा वेगळी आहे, पुस्तकातली भाषा वेगळी आहे. Again, the Amtssprache ist anders, die wissenschaftliche Sprache ist ganz anders. So all that, has different definitions. Both are the big challenges. I strongly feel. Yeah.
Great. You answered my next question also into this. I was going to ask you about the technology. How is it changing the learning and teaching of a language? So I think
teaching the language is changing. See, for example, now we are invested and also investing further into different cameras. The cameras, there are certain cameras are coming in the market in Europe. They are already reached. They would actually have the movements to capture your gestics and mimics. So you don't have to get up to get closer to the camera. So at same point, the camera could absorb my gestic mimic as well as my students who are sitting online in Singapore, Dubai, or somewhere else. The same way, those who are in offline, their expressions also will be shown to the online students. So this is going to have a very good communication. It's going to work as a bridge between all of us. Because many a times, there are students who are offline as well as online when you're having a session. And then, your physical activity becomes really very hectic because you constantly have to throw glance at both the ends. The cameras would be more useful in this manner. Second thing is, yes, the Zoom itself is the best example of technology, how it is helping us to. But I still believe in, or maybe I'm an old school of thought person, but Germany also observed. In fact, I tell you, Lalita, in Germany, the Sprachenatelier, they don't use the record players or they don't use the laptops to give you your verstehen. The teacher, we be trained in our Lehrerausbildung to practically use the words in our, understanding the similar words or the opposite words to talk the text which is there in your text. But we will not allowed to use the CD. So teaching something, I think you have to play a constructive role as a person. Level A1, A2. During COVID, our 2 batches, 100% online programs happened. Students got 20 out of 20 to 19 or 18 also. However, I did not get that satisfaction. I happened to go to meet them at the airport directly. I did not meet with them for the entire year because of COVID. But I strongly feel today the offline is possible. I see to it that 2 days I spend in Bangalore to give time to the students from there. 2 days I'm in Mumbai to give time. So that, offline, online is well integrated together.
Yeah. Oh, that is great.
Thank you.
You've been in this industry for a while, for a long time now. Yeah. So what changes would you like to see in the teaching field?
In the teaching field, to be very honest, Lalita, it just happened that I have been so focused in TestDaf. So whenever I happen to visit these engineering colleges where my employees are teaching, the new cadre of students, who are working as a German teacher, my observation is they really want to rely upon technology. One thing is, teachers self-study or teachers program of preparing tomorrow's lesson. That concept is withering away very fast. They are spontaneously going and they are teaching. One thing they should understand that a crowd which is learning, even if the first day of A1, if you are going wrong, 1.1%, they will be observing and they will make a note of that. So do not underestimate anybody or anybody's potential. When you are teaching something, you are also learning something from them. And when you teach and learn procedure relationship happens, then, your authoritative approach withers away. And you understand the psychology of the student as well, how he is thinking from his point of view. That becomes teaching easier. My observation about this with my employees was this, that, the lesson designing or planning, all that is withering away very fast in today's generation.
Oh, okay. That is really scary.
Because, YouTube is at its doorstep, and basically, see, you refer to the other teachers, take the best of it. It's give and take. But when you're doing that, you should mention the name of the person. It's very important. You cannot just take it. You cannot buy the story of your own. You cannot say the story of yours. That is very important. But if you do that, then what happens? Your student is going to lose confidence in you. So be very honest. A teacher really plays a role of mentoring, where you have to set certain goals for yourself and you have to impart a knowledge in such a mannerism, because you're contributing in somebody's personality development as well. You are responsible for that. And I'm giving them a dream of going to Germany. So, Lalita, right from A1 to the day of going for the TestDaf exam and cracking it, this journey could be of 10 months, could be of 15 months, could be of 2 years also. Now, students who are in 9th standard, their parents are putting them into TestDaf. They do only weekly programs. So it's a long way. So this long way, I have to maintain the tempo for every day. They are not supposed to get bored. So the challenges are plenty as a teacher. You have to really make it so interactive, because when she goes home, the child goes home, you should tell his parents or her parents that how Frau Ujwal was. So when you meet the parents and they talk about it, that is what is very important to get as a feedback. So my definition of feedback is also to have a transparency. It shouldn't be a goody picture. It should be an analytical picture of what your mentor is doing, what you expect from the mentor, and how we can have a good relationship, to develop a good constructive result out of it. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Teacher's job is really very hectic and very, creative also, and many other things, like you said.
In your translation field also, you must be feeling. I remember, Lalita, in mid-90s to beginning of 2000, a lot of students, they just used to do B1, B2, and they used to start working as a translator with a lot of organizations. I really used to feel disappointed and sorry for my friends who were into translation field, because मी तुम्हाला बघितलंय सगळ्यांना तुमच्या जनरेशनने कसं मेहनत घेतली आहे, and how you have developed the models. In fact, you have made the organizations to give the terminology to support the new translators, because you have created a pathway for them. So you always go in a very detailed mannerism. You don't leave it somewhere, because I always read your post or, the write-ups you put in. And that indicates that you have such an in-depth knowledge as well as that dedicated approach to, give the best in translation field. I think same thing is applicable for teaching also.
So I think we do our homework properly.
Yes,
and then go on and then we do whatever we do.
And here I prefer my own consultancy, because when you're working with an institute, you get the ready-made program coming from Munich, which I never wanted to do. It should be your brainchild. You may fall, you get up, you get hurt. Again, you will learn from those falls. But you must fall once at least in your life to understand.
Yes, it will teach you.
I wanted to do something different than joining an institute to work as
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you have succeeded in it. That's really good.
Thank you.
You are invested in TestDaf and German for all your life, right?
Yeah.
So do you plan to take up any other languages, maybe as a hobby or maybe as a career?
I'm actually learning Hebrew from a gentleman, Dr. Maya, who is a very famous, he is anthropologist and he's based in Tel Aviv. It started on an online program. However, Dr. Maya is not keeping well. He is in his 60s and he had angina problem. So last 2 months, my program has been stopped. And I have started learning Sanskrit from a gentleman from Chennai. Because Sanskrit was only in school and Sanskrit was limited to, certain Sanskrit shlokas, stotras and, mantras. that's a lifestyle for all of us, right? Recitation of everything in the evening, or whenever there are particular religious functions, or any ceremonious thing. But to understand Sanskrit from a common man's approach, I wanted to do that because I want to reside in that village in Karnataka which speaks only Sanskrit.
Oh, yes.
That's my dream, that I should be conversant with the locals to converse in Sanskrit. So that has just started. One of my friends, she's doing her doctorate in yoga. She got this contact of this Tamil Nadu's person. He imparts knowledge of Sanskrit. So that it just recently started. It's an online program. Yeah.
Wow.
I think language learning is very important, and once you touch your 50s, I think we have to keep our brain very active. It shouldn't be a monotonous way. We have to learn more languages. We also do a lot of Sudoku, and plus a lot of word power games. We do a lot together in Marathi, English, in German, as well as in other whatever I have started learning with. So that also helps a lot to keep yourself always on your toes.
Sure. Yeah. Great. So I wish you all the best for your Sanskrit and Hebrew both.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I really enjoyed talking to you, and you really gave a lot of information. So I'm sure it will be helpful and useful for those who want to go to Germany.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, for TestDaf or for more information for admissions in Germany, so how do they reach you? Do you have any website?
Yeah, we have a website, www.sprachenatelier.in and www.sprachenatelier.net. Our contact number is 98202-43013. So you can contact us on phone as well as on WhatsApp. Please check our websites, which would give you an insight into our program. There are testimonials of the students who have expressed about how TestDaf has played a big role in their academic life, and how academic life became very easy for them after going to Germany, particularly the undergrad students. So have a small journey into the insight of TestDaf, the Sprachenatelier websites, which will give you an information. And yes, I'm always reachable. If I'm in a session, I will get back to you on WhatsApp to inform you, and I'll call you back personally. Please give that Prasaran and Frau Lalita, through which I'm reaching out to you all. And my sincere thanks to you, Frau Lalita and E. Prasaran, Mr. and Mrs. Vaidya, for giving me this opportunity to introduce what is TestDaf and what little work I'm doing in this field of TestDaf training program. Thanks a billion. I wish you all the best. Ein schönes, gutes neues Jahr und einen guten Rutsch in das neue Jahr.
Gleichfalls, Ujwal.
Dankeschön. Gern geschehen. Ciao.